I was between a refugee camp and also a refugee camp in Kuwait. It wasn't very easy. It was a bit difficult. Life was tough. Surviving is the best things you can do in our situation. And you have to make things yourself to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. I want it to be something. I want to have the respect of my family, of the people who know me, and my friend. And I wanted to do something. You never conquer the mountain. You always conquer yourself. So wherever you go, to any mountain, you cannot beat that massive beauty of the mountain. You trying to conquer something new.
Imagine growing up as a child on a refugee camp in the Middle East and then finding your way across Europe, working in a kitchen, learning English, to then working in a hotel, to going to bed at night, having a dream that you were praying on the top of a mountain, and then within a few years, finding yourself being sponsored by the King of Jordan to scale Everest, complete your dream, but also to climb the other 7 tallest peaks, the 7 summits in the world, and ski across the South Pole and the North Pole, raising over £7 million for charities. That is my next guest, Mostafa Salami. So welcome, Mostafa, to the Warrior Academy podcast.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I absolutely love the place.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Seeing the place is just
amazing. It's I've really been looking forward to actually asking you lots of questions from my own point of view about your adventures and, you know, growing up and then everything you've done around the world. Just truly inspiring. So it's a really special episode here, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And so many of our parents, it's mostly parents who watch this, and we really encourage teaching young people to have adventure at a young age, because I think it instills resilience, it instills curiosity, and I think having an adventurous spirit really creates this environment where you go on to do incredible things in life. So with that being said, so that the followers at home can get to know you a bit better, what was it like growing up? Tell me about Mostafa growing up, where you grew up and your life as a child.
So I grew up in Kuwait first. So my mom and dad are refugee, came from Palestine to a refugee camp in Jordan. Then they were in Kuwait. I was born in Kuwait and then finished my high school in Kuwait. When the Gulf War happened, we have to go back to Jordan, to the refugee camp where my grandparents used to live. So I was between a refugee camp and also a refugee camp in Kuwait. So it was, you know, growing up in there. It wasn't very easy. It was a bit difficult. Life was tough, but in the same time, we were taught from a very young age that, you know, this is surviving is the best things you can do in our situation, and you have to make things yourself to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And this is what I learned since I was born. And then when the Gulf War happened, we have to go to Jordan. And then I have 8 brothers and 2 sisters. So I decided not to go to university because my dad couldn't afford it. So I started working as a waiter for 2 years. And by chance, somebody I was serving in this Italian restaurant, he said, "Do you want to go to London?" And I said, "You know, this is my ticket to achieve the dreams I want to achieve, to go from a small place to a big place." And he said his brother was the Jordanian ambassador in London. And he wants somebody to clean in the house. He wants somebody Jordanian to clean in the house and make coffee to his guests. So, 21 years old, I'm in Belgravia Place, Solana Square, one of the most prestigious areas in London, you know, coming from a refugee camp. I worked there for a year, and then I left ambassador, and then I wanted to learn English, so I worked in the kitchen for about 5 years, washing dishes, learning how to cook. But my biggest dream was to become a general manager for a 5-star hotel, to go in and stuff. So I wanted to able to save the money. But the biggest goal for me is to help my dad to keep my brother and my sister at school.
Right.
So 50% of my wages, I used to work double shift. 50% of my wages going to Jordan. 25% I used to hide because I had no paper. I couldn't open a bank account. And 25% was to live and pay rent and stuff. So
Wow.
for 7 years, I did that until I saved enough money. And after I went to the cinema, I watched Braveheart, and this is when I fell in love with Scotland.
So it's about 28 at this stage, 28 years old?
I was 28, yeah.
And then you watched Braveheart.
Watched Braveheart, and then I watched William Wallace talking about his freedom, and
And you were like, Scotland.
this is Scotland.
That's it.
And then I found out there is a beautiful university called Queen Margaret.
Yep.
And they teach a course in hotel management and international. So I had enough money. I saved, because it was 7,000 a year. So I had with me about £30,000, which I saved.
Saved it, but for all those
All
tough years. Yeah.
Working double shift and stuff. And this is when I was able to go to university. I studied at Queen Margaret, and then I joined the Sheraton in Edinburgh. And then this is when I become the food and beverage manager for the Sheraton. And then I have 2 or 3 years to become, maybe, or 4 years to become a general manager. And then would be my ultimate dream, to be the general manager so I can travel the world and go back to the Middle East and so on. But everything changed when I had my dream. So, and then I went from hospitality to mountaineering.
So I feel like you've just given me 30 years in 5 minutes. And every little part of that, I feel like I could do an hour on. Going back to life as a refugee child,
Yeah.
living in refugee camps in Jordan and in Kuwait.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was the day-to-day life like for a refugee child?
I mean, you live in a 2-bedroom flat. There is 12 of us, my mom and dad in one room. And then there is one room with bunks beds, where this is where I used to stay. And there is a small room where my mom do all the preparation for cooking. And then there is the kitchen. So you are in a small place. And, I've learned from a very young age that education for me is going to be the most important thing. So I was really so passionate about reading, so passionate about knowing things about different part of the world. And I wanted to do something bigger for me, but I did not have the opportunity. You were, especially in Kuwait, you were born there, but you're not going to get the citizenship. You're not going to be treated. You are treated like a second-class citizen, which is, the most important things for us. You have the education, you have the health. My dad was working very hard. My mom was looking after us. So, but we had a beautiful home. And my dad used to be a lorry driver. And at night, he used to go to the theater. And he used to love acting. So they used to do all these Palestinian plays and stuff. But in the same time, he used to go boxing, and I used to go with him. So I've loved boxing since I was from a young age. And Muhammad Ali was my hero. Muhammad Ali was the guy that, I always looked up to. Is something I wanted to do something for my community. I wanted to be something. I want to have the respect of my family, of the people who know me, my friend, and I wanted to do something. But this came after. In Jordan, I used to go there. We used to go there in the summer, and I used to sell halawa, sweet. And my mom used to do this big halawa plates, and I used to go around the camp and maybe make 10 pence, 20 pence for me, and then I give the rest to my mom. And was from my young age. I really wanted to be able to realign myself, because I knew I have to do this to be able to achieve what I want to achieve. So adventure for me was sort of adventure. Go out, create something, work, do stuff. But in the same time, I go with my dad, I do some boxing, and I come back. So, it wasn't easy, but, I didn't get everything I want. I wouldn't be able to go to a class like this because I couldn't afford it. Even to go to a swimming pool, because you have to pay. So, we did what we can do. And then, in the summer, we used to go from Kuwait to Jordan. We used to spend it with all my grandma, my granddad, all of the family. And, until I was 18 and I was able to leave Kuwait, and then the Gulf War happened, and then my mom and dad have to come, all my brothers. So I had this responsibility in my shoulder to say, I have to concentrate on my, in my family.
Do you feel like you felt like there was a lot of pressure for your family to support them, and you were the one who was going to go out in order to provide for the whole family, even your parents, and
100%.
that was your motivation initially? It was like, I need to look after my family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, it was more of, and you've been living here in our world, family it's very important. We always believe in, even our, as the religion teach us, that, your mom and dad, if they're happy, God is happy. So you always try to, whatever mom and dad, to satisfy them, to make them happy. This is what we do. And I think this is what I grew up with, and this is what I felt. I'm not going to leave. I want to keep my brother and sister at school. I don't want them to go and work. So being in England, the money was good for me. So I was...
You could then support the family.
Yeah, support family. But in the same time, I wanted... I wanted to adapt to where I was. And, I loved England. I loved being in England. And then I loved Scotland. And, Scotland for me, everywhere I went after for my mountaineering. So I have the Jordanian flag, the Palestinian flag, and the Scottish flag. So these three flags always with me. Because I always,
Scotland had a big part in your life.
Massive.
Yeah.
And when I reach the South Pole, I wear a kilt and,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wear my kilt. And
it sounds a bit early to wear a kilt in the South.
It was very cold. It was scary cold, but I managed to have another kids after that. But it was all over, Scottish newspapers and stuff in the front.
Yeah,
with me because
Mostafa, and the biggest mountain in the South Pole.
But it was because Scotland gave me something that made me believe in my dreams. And England gave me the road of trying to get everything I want, and that's why I was able to adapt the country, to learn the language, and yeah, it was a big part.
What I'm really hearing in your story is this incredible work ethic, which came from a young age, and it sounds to me like a lot of the motivation behind your work ethic comes from this strong moral compass. You need to be there to support your family, and you need to have this. This is kind of ingrained in your morals, right? To work hard and provide.
Absolutely.
You mentioned religion being one of the reasons you have that. Is it just religion, or is it a kind of a family kind of culture thing as well?
I would say more. Now understand it is more spiritual. I love the Sufi way of trying to understand everything mentally before physically. So I always, I don't wake up early in the morning to go and pray because I'm fearing from God. No, I go there because I am passionate to meet God, because it gives me power. So it's my meditation in a way.
Right.
That's how I meditate. I go there, I have my 15, 20 minutes in the morning with God. I have 5 minutes in the midday. So,
and finding this time, that's something you've done throughout your childhood, throughout your adult life?
No, actually, no. I wasn't like when a childhood, I didn't even know how to read the Quran.
Yeah.
Until I was older. And then I found a Sufi teacher to teach me how to read the Quran and to be able to recite it, to be able to understand it mentally, not just from the heart. So I can be able to practice with that throughout my life. And, this is what I try to do. So it's more of a spiritual being. I go to different places in the world. I go to, a Buddhist temple or Hindus or a church, or all these places are beautiful places of worship. And for me, the mosque is, that as well. And that's why when I start going to the mountain, I treated the mountain as a place of worship. So it helped me spiritually to be there and to be able to accept everything around me, and, and the most important thing is to come back with 10 fingers and 10 toes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can imagine in a lot of the places you've been, the risk of losing fingers and toes is actually genuinely pretty high. And I've been quite fortunate to spend a decent amount of time in mountains, maybe not as big as Everest, but some incredible places. And I've often found it to be very spiritual and very peaceful and very awe-inspiring. And you leave a mountain and you just feel like you're in a visionary mode. Do you know what I mean? I often feel like I just need more time in the mountains throughout the year. So I've now planned that into my kind of yearly schedule to spend time in the mountains every year, whether that's skiing or climbing, whatever it is.
It's just because it's a huge, it's something is big. So when you're there, you feel, I wouldn't use the word useless, but you feel very small.
You're a part of the world.
Yeah.
But you're not the main focus. It's like perspective, right?
Absolutely.
It gives you a deeper perspective.
And it's like, what Hillary, the first man to climb Everest, said, you never conquer the mountain. You always conquer yourself. So wherever you go to any mountain, you cannot beat that massive beauty of the mountain. You trying to conquer something in you. And that's what the beauty. If you go in that mental mind, because then your ego will stay at home.
Yeah,
you don't take your ego with you because it will kill you in the mountain.
What a brilliant carryover that is to life in general, right? I suppose we're all kind of climbing our own mountains, aren't we? And often I think everyone's at fault of kind of focusing on the peak. The peak is the where you want to be, and ultimately when you're at the bottom of the mountain, you're looking up at the peak and saying, "What have you?" When you're at the top of a mountain, you're looking down, you're saying,
you're like, I'm getting down.
And really, the whole purpose of climbing a mountain is to enjoy that process of reaching the top.
Absolutely.
Much more than actually being on the top.
And meeting the people and learn from. Like, if you are in the mountain, especially in Analyze, and you won't be able to climb mountain without the Sherpas.
Yeah.
For me, I will never be able to climb Everest without these amazing Sherpas.
Yeah.
Because, they're not, they're really skinny. They don't have any big muscles. No, because their spirituality help you and move you to go to the mountain. So, yeah, the mountain, and, every one of us has an Everest in their life. And Everest can be a mountain, it can be your education, it can be people coming here to learn how to protect themselves, how to be more confident. And, we all wanted something. And I think Everest is something that we always compare to, because it's high, you have to plan, you have to do lots of stuff to be able to get to the top safely, and you come back. And I think everything that we do in life, work, your dream is, it's Everest. Everyone have, because it's.
That's a great point, isn't it? To find your Everest. It's not even really about the mountain. It's about whatever Everest represents in your own life. And this is why I think adventure is such a powerful thing for young people, because it teaches them to go out of their comfort zone, explore, try something new, and overcome adversity and reach their peak in whatever that is.
And so and open their minds, because they are open to different culture, different religion, different stuff. So they come back in a different mindset. So it's not just about, because it's not about muscle. You don't need muscle to climb Everest or to climb this big mountain. You need the brain, and you need that opening. You need to open your heart, your soul, your mind. You need to go there and just let things be, but also have one thing that is very important, that is your safety will have to come first. So you cannot push, because lots of people, and most of people, they die in Everest, they die in the way down, not in the way up.
Right.
And I can tell you 80% of people die in Everest.
We were joking as I came in, because a lot of the mountains I've had the privilege of climbing, I've jumped off with a parachute, whereas you've walked down. I offered you to borrow my parachute, so you have to take that extra risk. We've actually, I'm going back to Nepal again soon. Part of the Warrior Academy is the Bates Foundation. It's a charity which runs alongside the Warrior Academy. So for every paying member, we've got a student on a scholarship. We've just started a club in the Himalayas, in Nepal. And so we've got about 15 or so students in Nepal that we're now in the process of getting passports to bring back to Dubai to do the World Championships here. And I'm always blown away by how calm and patient and resilient and innovative the Nepalese are.
They are.
And they're a real warrior culture.
Yeah. I have to introduce you to my best friend there, Lakpa. Lakpa is the only human to paraglide from the top of Everest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he's a wonderful man.
Maybe you shouldn't introduce him.
Yeah, I should introduce him. I think you both will go really well together. So, no, he's a great guy. He's the National Geographic Man of the Year. For 2 years in 2011. Well, he's one of the most just humble, amazing man you will ever meet. So when you go there, you should You should meet him. He started this company where he does paragliding in the Himalaya and Everest.
Amazing. Yeah, that sounds fascinating. And Mustafa, you're the 13th person, the 13th human being in the world to do the seven Grand Slams. So to climb the 7 biggest summits in all the 7 continents, right?
Yeah, and ski the South Pole and North Pole and Greenland.
So that's part of it. So just walk me through what the Grand Slam is exactly.
So climbing the 7th summit, which is the highest point in all the 7 continents. So you have Everest in Asia, which is the highest point in the world. Then you have the next one to it is Aconcagua in Argentina, the highest in South America, which is about 7,000 meter. Everest 8,884 meter. And then the third one is Denali in Alaska, the highest point in North America, 6,400 meter. And then you go to Kilimanjaro, which is the highest in Africa, about 5,900 meter. And then number 5 is Elbrus, the highest point in Europe, which is in Russia. And this is 5,500 meter. Then 6-1 is the highest point in Antarctica, which is Vincent Massive. And then the last one is in Papua New Guinea, which is the highest point in the Australian continent.
Wow.
Lots of people go to Australia, which is 1,200, and they finish the 7th summit. No. You have to go to Papua New Guinea to be able to say, I did the 7th summit. This is the 7th summit. And to do the Grand Slam, you need to do the South Pole, and then you need to do the North Pole. And then I added Greenland as well. So I did the South Pole, North Pole, Greenland.
Why did you add Greenland?
Just
why not?
Just why not?
You're looking at the Grand Slam. You had the Grand Slam down. You're like, do you know? I've got a bit of time. I got a bit of it. I can sit there. I did. Greenland's on the way.
I did.
I'll just squeeze that in.
I did have another year to go. I thought, you know what? I had a really lovely sponsor behind me.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Let's just do Greenland as well.
So a peak in Greenland?
No,
just skiing across the whole of Greenland. So cross country.
So I did south to north. So I started in the south. I finished in the north.
I think even just one of those is a lifelong challenge for some people, right?
Yeah,
it's climb one of those mountains.
It's a big. North Pole was, also North Pole. I did the North Pole as well, and I
skiing across the North to south.
Yeah, and I did the South Pole, which is, the South Pole was the toughest one. It's 65 days skiing.
65 days. Most people struggle after a couple of days, but 65
steps. I think it was the hardest. Hard, definitely harder than Everest. So you're gonna maybe time Everest time 3 and to go to South Pole, because on the South Pole you have to do everything yourself. You have to pick your camp. You have to bid your toilet, you have to do your kitchen, you have to carry 180 kilo. You're going to start with 180 kilo sledging. If the close weather, you need to survive everything, and you need to, there is no help that's going to come anywhere, so you have to treat everything. I have to learn how to, to fill, if anything happened to my feet, which I did when I was at the South Pole. If you have anything that's broken, if you have to deal it, because the minute you ask for help, all this money you paid.
Was it with your teeth? What did you have to do?
Filling it. So I had some.
There was a hole in your teeth, and you had
a big hole. Yeah, I went out.
You pulled the tooth out.
No, it's not the tooth. It's the filling.
Oh, okay.
The filling.
So you had to fill the
I didn't want to experience it.
No, I was going to say tooth extraction.
No, the tooth extraction happened in Everest in 2008 when I climbed it, but a doctor did it, and for me at about.
While you were up the mountain.
I was up on the mountain, yeah. And I had
the last place you want to have a dental emergency, isn't it?
It was horrible. It was the most painful thing I had in my whole life, and they had to stitch it. And this is the year when I went up to the top of Everest.
So you were in the middle of scaling Everest.
Scaling it.
And then
I had a real big pain. I made it to Camp 3, and then we had to come down to climatize, and then I had the pain. And
was this because of the pressure?
Part of it was the pressure.
And just timings. You had the problem anyway.
I had the problem anyway. I didn't know. So we had to go down to a place called Namche Bazaar to try to find the dentist. The dentist wasn't there. But I was lucky to have this American team who were visiting that area. And then we left these words with all the guest houses. And somebody said, there is a dentist looking for you. And so I went there. Her name is Rebecca. And she looked at it and she said we had to take it out. And then we had to find the dentist. The dentist wasn't there. She was going to Kathmandu to get some anesthesia. So we had to break in. Her brother broke in the lock. We had to pay them for that. We used it. We couldn't find any anesthesia, so we had
So tooth extraction up Everest without
nothing.
And any anesthesia.
Nothing.
Alcohol.
It was tough. It was very hard. But,
that was a great.
I wouldn't go down to Kathmandu because I knew if I went down to Kathmandu, it's going to be it was my third try. It was my third try. Yeah.
Was this during the Grand Slam?
This is all good, the Grand Slam. Yeah. So was because Everest was, if I go back in 2004 when I had my dream. So the whole idea, I never knew anything about mountaineering.
Just a quick shout out to the guys at Shield who manage this podcast, come up with the strategy behind the podcast, help me schedule interviews as well as do all of the editing and the producing of the podcast. Without them, we wouldn't be able to produce this podcast. If you would like to create your own podcast, I can't recommend the Shield team enough. They have done well over 100 episodes for me over the last few years, and I've been so pleased with the results. So have a look in the description of this video or the podcast episode, and you'll see how to get in touch with them yourself.
Until January 2004, after a very busy Christmas and New Year in Sheraton, I work in 12 to 14 hours. When I moved to Edinburgh, I didn't know absolutely not anyone. And then I met all my friends through going clubbing and stuff. And this was the group of the friend I have. So I did not have, I didn't even do any boxing when I was in Scotland. So the only form of exercise I have is to go clubbing, see my friend, and go back. And this was my fun time, but concentrating on my job. So in January 2004, I wake up and I saw myself in the top of the mountain praying. That was the dream.
You had that dream, and that's what it's fine.
So I Googled the highest point in the world, and to be honest, I thought it was in America because I had no idea anything about Everest or any mountaineering. Never even stepped in a sleeping bag. So I was 34 years old in 2004 when I had the dream, and then I wake up, Google what is Everest, and then I start reading about Everest, and I thought, okay, there were no Arab, there was no Muslim then to do it, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do. Told my friends, everyone thought I was mental. Everyone thought, what are you talking about? This is Everest. So, and they said, if you want to know more, you have to contact this company called Jagged Globe in London and England and Sheffield, and they can tell you how to climb it. So I contact them. They said, you have to do 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 meters. You have to do this and that. But it's very expensive. I have to find a sponsor. So, of course, I went back to Jordan then and tried to let people about what I'm doing. Nobody took any notice of me. Nobody know who I am. Nobody knew why are you going to climb Everest? Why are you going to kill yourself? And then I went back to the Sheraton. I was still working, and I Googled, and I thought, I should get to the King of Jordan. Maybe if he believed in my idea, everyone else would believe.
So hold on a second. So you were like, I need a sponsor.
Yeah.
First person that came to your mind was the King of Jordan.
Yeah.
No particular reason, just because you thought, right, that I'll look to the top of the country.
Because, something else really motivated me was a great scholar called Ibn Battuta.
Yeah.
And then also Christopher Columbus. When he wanted to do his big expedition to go to the America. Mm-hmm. And nobody really believed in him. And he kept writing to the French emperor, to the Queen of Spain, and she believed in him.
Right.
She sold her crown to fund his expedition. Wow. And this is when he went there. I thought, what? Why should I not do that?
So following the footsteps of Christopher Columbus and Ibn Battuta.
And, why not?
And so you reached out to the King of Jordan.
Well, I mean, I've really Googled, and I knew everything about what he does and stuff. And there were one thing that says that he still, because his mom is English, our king, so he read the Sunday time. I thought I need to get to the Sunday time, but so we had, when I used to be the restaurant manager at the Sheraton before I became the food and beverage, They were this guy who used to come to this restaurant, and he used to be the chief editor for the Scotsman. And I said to him, would you write an article about me? He said, about what? I said, I dreamed about 9/11. I said, okay, we'll write an article just to do a favor for you. So he wrote an article, and I took this same article to somebody, a writer in the Sunday Time.
Yeah.
Said, I want to climb Everest for peace, and there's no Arab climbed Everest. And he said, okay, come to London. So I took the train, went to London, he did a really great piece. He said, Climbing for Peace and the King of Jordan. This was in February 2004, just a month after I had my dream.
So this was to get the attention of King of Jordan.
And still the attention not get. Then maybe 2 weeks after this article, and then I got a phone call from the King office. And this guy was a bit tough. He said, why are you paying? Because I was copying all the quotes from the King. Arab youth have to achieve, to go to another level of climbing and doing this and that. And I thought, okay, this is my chance. So he said, okay, come to Jordan. So I went to Jordan. I was like, oh my God,
When you advised it?
Yeah, the King office. I didn't see the King yet. So the King office says, okay, well, do you have a plan? And I said, yeah. So I got this plan from Jackie Globe. I said, in April, I'm going to go to Mera in Nepal to train, and then go to Lakbari in May, and in June to go to Alaska to climb Denali. And he said, this guy knew something about mountaineering that I had absolutely no clue. And he said, Denali was one of the most difficult one after Everest. I said, oh, okay, well, yeah, this is the plan. So he said, okay, listen, we're going to give you the money to do this. You go and buy your equipment, you buy the stuff. You go to Nepal, you train, you go to Tibet to do a 7,000 meter, and then you go to Alaska. If you climb the highest point in North America, we will take you seriously, and then we continue with you. If you don't climb it, you take the stuff we bought you, but we never want to hear anything. You're never going to write anything. You're never going to contact any media. And then we have to. So I said, okay, fair enough. So went back to Scotland. I have this money that they gave me, to pay for this expedition. And then I went to an outdoor shop. I have no idea what I want. I have this list. I went to this guy. He put all the stuff and fly to Nepal in April. I had to go to my boss in Sheraton, and he was amazing to give me 3-month unpaid leave, which was amazing. Because I thought, if I don't, I want to go back to my job. So went to Nepal. I stepped in a tent for the first time in my life. It wasn't really easy. It was cold. I've never experienced high altitude. So Mera is 6,400 meters. I've reached 5,900, and then I thought, that's it. I'm done. I had to go down. So I went down straight in May 2004 to Tibet to climb a 7,000 meter. I reached 6,000 meters, and then I had a snow blind, and I have to come down. And then in June, flew straight to United States. And then 12th of June 2004, I made it to the top of North America.
Wow.
You ask me how I did it, is because I was climatized from Nepal and Tibet, and I was lucky that we had a good weather, and I made it to the top.
Yeah.
One of the most difficult one, but I have a great guide who was there. So I was all over the newspaper in Jordan, Mostafa Salame, the climber.
Yes.
So all my family, all my friends thinking, what is going on in here?
Yeah.
And this is when they took me seriously. He said, okay, Everest, you're going to climb Everest 2005. What do you want? I said, I want to train. I want to go and do Mont Blanc, Matterhorn. I spent some time in the Dolomite, do all this climb, and then go to do an 8,000 meter, which is in Shishimangma in Tibet, to train, and then go to Argentina to do Aconcagua. And I had this idea. It was all about Everest. And then I said to them, to the bar, I said, would you fund the 7th summit? And they said, yeah, do your training in the 7th summit, climb Everest. So 2005, I go to Everest 2005 at 23,000 feet after climbing for a month, and I was going for the summit. I had an ulcer in my stomach, and then I was bleeding. So I have to come down in 2005. They said, it's okay, we'll still fund you. So, Princess Haya said she will fund my expedition. So I was training, and finishing the rest of the summit. 2007, go back to Everest, really super fit. I thought, that's it, this is my year. And then I got to base camp and I had chest infection. I was coughing for about 3 weeks. I went down, I went up, and then I dislocated my ribs, I would say.
Wow.
And then I couldn't breathe, so I had to go helicopter back down, get back. I said, okay, 2008 is going to be my year. So I had to sell some stuff. I had to sell my car. I have to redo things because sponsorship then, they give me this money, but then I had more help. Went back to Everest and I thought, I'm going to climb Everest in Jordan, Independence Day. This is what I did. So 2008, 25th of May, I made it to the summit with Lakba, my friend. And, I achieved my dream and I finished 6 of my 7 summit as well. And I have 1 to go. But between 2008, 2011, I had total break because I thought, I'm not going to be able to go back to the hotels. So I decided to do my master's degree in outdoor education studies in Edinburgh University. So I came back. I was working as a head of catering in Edinburgh Zoo. So every morning I'll go to the zoo. Amazing. It was brilliant. Feed the penguins. The first things you see in Edinburgh Zoo is the penguin. So I worked there for a while. Then I worked with Edinburgh International Festival. I finished. I went back again 2011. I finished the last of my 7 summit. And then I was knighted by His Majesty and this is the suggestion between me and him. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I like to go back to the mountain to do 8,000 meters. He said, why not do the South and North Pole? And this is when I found out about the Grand Slam. And he said, let's go there. I said, I don't know how to ski. He said, well, you can learn how to ski. So went to France, spent 3 months. I learned how to ski. And then I decided to go for the North Pole, then the South Pole. And then I decided to go for Greenland as well. So I finished Greenland. And this is when I finished the Grand Slam. So the whole idea came from a dream, but, I always believe that, if you really believe in yourself and you believe in an idea that you have, but, before that idea, and I think because I did what I have to do from the refugee camp, from working in the kitchen, because I've learned English from the kitchen, because I used to walk Sesame Street at 6:30 in the morning in England. It used to be at 6:30 in the morning to 7:30.
Yeah.
And then I used to write, 20 words, 10 sentences. It's put in front of me on a kitchen sink to do my kitchen stuff, read it, and then I had to, to practice it with my friend. One of them was, from East London, so I couldn't understand much he says, but I started learning. And one guy was Scottish guy, which is more difficult. So I've learned from these 2 people how to speak properly. And this is how I learn my English. So, doing that, when I had that dream and when I saw myself, I knew I can do it. And I believed always that I am destined to do something bigger than just a hotel. And so when this dream came, I believed in it 100%. I believe in my heart. And I know in the beginning, nobody believed in me. Nobody believed I can even do anything like this. But because I believed it 100%. And, when I moved to Scotland, a very good friend of mine, she gave me a book called The Alchemist for Paulo Coelho.
Mm-hmm.
And in this book, it says that if you believe in something so much, everyone around you will believe in it. But if you have a little doubt, everyone else will have that doubt. So you have to really believe in it 100%. And that's what I did. And this is where it led me to go to do Everest and to do the other stuff. And, I never really used the words fail or failing because I don't like it. I like say that you tried and you didn't make it. And you're going to try again and try again and try again until you do it. And if you fail in Arabic, failing, it's a very strong word. In Arabic, it says sakata or sukut. So you go down and something. That's the end of it. So, I try.
Being an attempt. It's
an attempt.
If you fail the attempt, it's a failure.
Because absolutely. So when you go try, you learn from it. And I've learned. And it wasn't my year to climb Everest in 2010 or 2007. It was my year to go up in 2008 and be there in Jordan Independence Day as well. And so, which was a big thing. And I was able to.
So you managed to climb Everest on the Independence Day in Jordan?
In the day of Jordan.
Wow.
I was there.
Brilliant time.
I spoke, I have this satellite phone, and I spoke to my mom and dad first. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And they told me, you should call His Majesty's office to speak to His Majesty from the top, because the communication was 2 days before. And I told his brother, Ben Sali, I said, I'm going to be there in the top. He said, that's amazing. You call this number. So 4 o'clock in the morning, after I spoke to my dad, who was so proud, my mom was concerned about if I had breakfast or if I'm warm, and then I called this number that they gave me, and I said, my name is Mostafa Salami. I'm standing in the top of the world. I want to speak to His Majesty. And this guy thought, what? He put the phone down, thinking, oh, he's mental, calling at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I guess nobody's told him that there is somebody. So I had to call Prince Ali. I'm calling his mobile. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And it's like he picked up his mobile.
He picked up?
Yeah. He said, you are in the top. I said, I am, your Highness, but I'm trying to talk to His Majesty, like he said. He said, okay, wait for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So 5 minutes exactly. And then I called the number, and then it was His Majesty in the line. And I said, the first things he said, I really hope you're not calling me this time. And he said, there's no way I'm going to call you. So that was nice. So I called him, he was really happy. And
wow.
So that was a great moment. My dream was to make the azan in the top and pray, and this is what I did.
And that's what you did?
And then, I went back, and, it was a great news. I flipped the Jordanian flag, the Palestinian flag, and the Scottish flag, and the Free Tibet flag as well.
Wow.
Which I got trouble. And the Free Tibet flag, I took it up to the summit of Everest and the South Pole. And just 3 months ago, I met the Dalai Lama. So I went to Dharamsala. I presented this to him. So he was very happy. I presented the flag with the 2 pictures to him, because Tibet for me means a lot, because Lakpa, he's from there. So I really wanted to do something and take that flag up as well. So that was amazing. Yeah. So
that's absolutely incredible. What an incredible story of, grit, determination, and just big picture thinking as well. To go from living on a refugee camp as a child, to working in kitchens to learn English, to then working in a hotel, to then having a dream of seeing yourself praying on the top of the world's highest peak, to then coming up with a creative solution to finance the dream through the newspaper, to finding the King of Jordan as your sponsor, to then scaling the 7 highest peaks in the world and skiing across the North and South Pole. Just, sometimes in life you meet people who've just got incredible stories, and this is definitely one of them for me. So just trying to get my head around how much you managed to fit in. And it's like there's something in your mind which is just like, I've decided to do something, so it's going to happen. It doesn't really matter what else goes on around you, what people say. It's like, it's all very much very, very focused energy from you, right? Like, you say you're going to do something. Absolutely. You bring that to reality through your mindset.
And it's discipline as well.
Yeah.
You there is a beautiful verse in the Quran. It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. God do not change what's in you until you want to change. So the change have to start within yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in it, if you don't want that change, if you're not passionate about the change that you're going to make, you're not going to go anywhere. And nobody going to be able to take you from your hand to do it. So you have to start with yourself. And you have to start, I have to do it. I have to be disciplined. I used to smoke. And I have to stop smoking. I used to do lots of stuff that is not good for my body. So I had to stop lots of stuff to be able to reach that goal, which is climbing, so I have to be fit. I have to be mentally. Because if you look at every single idea, you go to Polar Adventure or Everest, 70% of what you're going to do is mentally. 70. 10% is physically, which is you need to be fit. The other 10% is technicality. So you need to know what you wear, how to save yourself, how to use ropes, which line you're going to take. And then the other 10% is money and sponsorship. So money and sponsorship, if you can secure that, this is a big job. Now, this is done, but you have this 20%, which is the most one. If you go up there, that 70% will be affected by this 10%.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared physically, if you didn't bring your heart rate under 50, if you're not really did everything you're going to do, and then you are at 8,300 meters and you cannot move. And this brain said, yeah, of course you're not going to move because you didn't prepare and you didn't plan this, you didn't do this. And then you're going to go back. Or something happened medically and then you have to come down. But you go there and that mental mind said, oh, you cannot do it. And you can say, no, I can. I did everything I can do. I know all the technicality. I've learned. I woke up early in the morning. I did my run. I went to the gym. I did all the stuff, so you will keep going.
Now, work you've done behind the scenes, the physical work you've done reinforces the mental side.
100%.
You know, in martial arts, we say train hard, fight easy.
That's it.
You put the hours into the gym and the dojo, and you work really hard on that. When you walk into the arena, you have that extra level of confidence, right? And so that 70% of mentality totally strengthened by the physical prep.
Absolutely, because it's very important. And then the knowledge. I mean, you need the knowledge as well with everything that you do. So you need to understand your body. You need to understand what's going on. You need to know, what should I do? And then you have to lock that ego at home because that ego will kill you when you go to places like this. So you have to say, okay, if I come to this point and maybe in 2005, maybe I would make it to the top. But then I don't think I will ever come back because I was bleeding, I knew. And, I remember always somebody in the team said, come on, you made it all the way here. Another day and you can do it. But I knew that day will kill me. And, and I spoke to the guide then, and he was a very experienced guide. And he said, listen, you have two choices here. And you can make it to the summit, but you won't be able to tell your story. Or you can go down, and then the story will be bigger. And he was right. He tries, and I came back, try again. It didn't work.
Live to fight with the day.
Then I went back, and I did it again. And I think I would come back again and again and again to make it. I wouldn't, because it's not just about reaching the top. It's about the whole journey, and it's the experience that I will be able to tell this new generation, especially in the Middle East, because we didn't take outdoor education. We didn't take this outdoor, Everest, polar, adventurous stuff is for these mental Westerners to do it. But it's not. But this is how we used to look at it. And now you can see in the Middle East, adventure, people going climbing. We have more women in the Middle East who climb Everest than men.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
More women than men, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So they were this, when I did it, you didn't have any woman. There is nobody working on it. But, somebody have to start it to be able to take it up and, and then you have to tell that story to the kids to be able to believe in it and go and do it. So
a lot of people watching this or listening to this episode and will have a very different mindset to you in their own lives. And when, you've got a very unique mindset when it comes to challenge and adventure and obviously resilience. One of the questions that they might have is, why do you put yourself through that? Why do you put yourself through all the pain, all of the discipline, all of the discomfort of doing some of the most arduous challenges that this world can offer you?
Well, first, because I'm living my dream. I mean, that is the dreams that I'm living it. Everything that I say I'm going to do, that's a dream for me. So I am living all this dream while I'm going. So each time you have an adventure, you're doing a bigger and bigger adventure because now you are trained mentally and physically to do it. And there is people who believe in you now. So if I'm going, I want to do the South Pole, I need $150,000.
You'll get that.
I will get that. So I will go and because people believe I've done the stuff I've done. But there is a bigger picture from it, not just because doing the adventure is, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a change, especially in our area of the world, which is the Middle East. I wanted to let these generation come in from a refugee camp, from people who cannot afford to do this.
So initially, your dream was kind of a dream for yourself.
Yeah.
You see yourself doing it.
Yeah.
But as you've gone through this life of adventure and you achieved all the things you wanted to, now it's like the dream has changed.
Bigger. It's bigger than me.
Bigger than you.
Yeah. And I tell you when it changed.
You serve your, your community and your continent through your adventures, right?
But I'll tell you when the whole things changed in SEP in 2011. I did a talk at a cancer hospital in Jordan. And then I did it for the kids, and I showed them I had this Everest stuff, and I was talking about the Sabin Summit. And then the nurse came and she said, oh, there is one kid who, she was 11 years old, and she said, one kid cannot come out because her immune system is very low. Would you go to her room? Yes. So wear all this stuff. I went to the room. I was showing her, and she changed the way I see things. She was the inspiration. An 11 years old cancer patient who told me, she said, how long did it take you to climb Everest? I said, 72 days. How long did you stay in the summit? I said, about 40 minutes. We were the first one to arrive. Nobody were there. And she said, what do you use to be safe? I said, we use ropes, and I showed her these equipment and stuff. And she said, and she said, why do you climb? And I said, I climbed to take the Jordanian flag, Palestinian. I wanted, to be the first. And, I was in that focus. And she said to me, I've been climbing my own Everest in the past 2 years. I have cancer since I was 9 years old. And every time I come here, I sit in the top of my pain from chemotherapies and stuff for 2 or 3 hours. And, the only hope that we always have of people coming to help us, because I come here because somebody else pay for me to come here because my family cannot afford it, and this is totally broke my heart. And then I felt everything I did meant absolutely nothing, and this is when I thought, everything I want to do now is to climb for cause. And from 2011, when she told me, 2012 I started. And since we are till 2023, I were able to fundraise $7 million for charities. So cancer charity, which is Cancer Center, So I start taking a group of people every year now. Every single year, I take 4 or 5 expeditions. We go to Kilimanjaro, we go to the Himalayas, we go to Everest, and I take people who want to climb. I teach them how to climb. They never climbed in their life. I told them my story. I take them to the mountain, and they fundraise money for the charity. I took the first man on a wheelchair to the top of Kilimanjaro to climb the Kilimanjaro. I took a blind guy. Recently, I took an Ukrainian, an Afghani, and a Syrian, a Palestinian wheelchair. Have lots of physical problems. I took them to the top. So different charity, refugees. We built school. We did lots of stuff for this, and that's my passion. This is where I'm passionate about. So everything I did, I think with the destiny that I believe in my destiny, I believe where I'm going. And I think everything I did, that big mountain, the 7th summit, the Grand Slam, it all happens. It brings me to that where I am now, is that everything I do, I'm doing it for cause. I'm not just climbing for, to take the flag. No, I'm doing it. Well, I've skied the South Pole for cancer. I skied the North Pole for kids for cancer. So I'm doing it for a bigger than me. So it's not just for me. So now, yes, in the beginning, because I didn't know much about climbing, so I have to master it in a way. I have to know how to do it. I have to know how to go and get a sponsorship. But now I can take people to do it. But in the same time, we fundraise money. So this is the bigger picture. The other bigger picture is to write books about mountaineering, because in the Arabic world, we don't have any books about mountaineering. So my book was the first ever book to be written about mountaineering, which is Dreams of a Refugee. And it was published by Bloomsbury by chance. So it was this article in 2015 on financial time. And then it says they were doing something every week. What do you take with you? There's two things that you take with you to work, to the mountain. So he said, what do you take with you? I said, I take the Quran and I take techno music, because that's the two things that keep me going in the mountain or in anywhere. And then somebody from the Bloomsbury read the article and he said, do you want to write a book? I said, yeah, I would like. I was waiting for a big publishing house. And then Bloomsbury will be the one. Yeah. So this is where I started. I wrote Dreams of a Refugee. And then I wrote another book called رحلة الصعود والارتقاء, which is a spiritual book about mountaineering. And then I wrote, and then we published two children's books, one about Everest, the other one about Kilimanjaro. They are in the curriculum of some countries in the Ministry of Education. So people know more about outdoor education, because I think it's super important for kids. Adventure and outdoor, it's a great things for kids to undertake. So everything is bigger than just taking, getting in the mountain, take the flag, do the stuff. I still have to work. I still have to feed my kids. I have to, to pay with the mortgage, to do all this stuff. You still have to do it. But in the same time, I can use this passion to follow my dream, but in the same time to give something huge back to the community. Because, nobody is going to believe, it's the guy who climbed Everest. You go to Hillary, which is the first man to climb Everest. You go to the Himalaya and you see the schools and you see the hospital that he built. That's his legend. Yeah. That's what he's always going to be remembered about, not just because he climbed Everest. And I think this is what you're going to leave behind. And for me, is what I'm going to leave behind is the most important. It's not just the flag I talk or being the first or what.
Yeah. So, wow. What an incredible mindset. It's just amazing how one dream was the kind of catalyst, sparked all of this off, right? And now you're able to leverage those incredible adventures to serve so many people. Absolutely amazing story. What's up next? What's the next big challenge?
So the big challenge I'm doing now, next year in February, it's called the 777 for Palestine. So I'm going to run 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 continents.
Wow. Just the traveling alone is going to be tricky.
Yeah. So it's all organized with this big company where every 24 hours you do, so we all meet in South Africa.
Yeah.
You fly to Antarctica, you do a marathon straight in the plane, but still, because the engine has to stay on in Antarctica. You get into the plane straight to South Africa, you arrive late at night, you get up in the morning, you do one marathon, straight to Perth in Australia, you do 1 marathon, to Turkey, you do a marathon in Asia part and the Europe part, and then to Argentina and then to Miami. So every 24 hours you do a marathon, and that's going to be mostly to talk about Palestinian food, Palestinian culture, Palestinian personalities and music. So something that...
when are you doing this?
February next year.
We're going to have to ask you to come back.
Yeah?
After you complete it.
We'll get back.
And if you don't complete it, well, you're not allowed to come back.
Well, I have to try again.
I have to try again. There's no failure. There's just the next try.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mustafa, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And having you on, hearing about your inspiring stories. And, if I were you, I'd worry about going to sleep at night just in case I dream about the next adventure, which I have to complete. I sleep with one eye open, I think.
Well, I have to say, everything that, you doing. I mean, your amazing story and what you're bringing here and what people can learn from what you do. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, this is adventure. I mean, anybody will come to this studio and that's an adventure. And that's, I think, what will really make these kids' mind very strong to achieve any dream. If they're going to come here, learn, this amazing sport, I mean, they can do absolutely anything. So well done to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed today's Warrior Academy podcast episode. We're going to keep creating these episodes because I know that so many parents find them useful or get insights or get ideas about how to develop their child's character. But it all comes down to the 3 C's: confidence, conduct, and concentration. So if you want to get a deep insight into the levels of confidence your child has, the level of concentration they have, or the level of conduct they have, so that you can actually put a score next to it and then work towards increasing those scores like we do in the Warrior Academy, then I'd love to invite you to fill in the Breakthrough Area Assessment. It takes about 5 minutes of your time, and you will get a personalized PDF report on your child's 3 C's. To access the Breakthrough Area Assessment and find out your child's 3 C's score, all you need to do is go to www.breakthrougharea.com.